Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome on into the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight, Stanley Cup Finals, matchups, stars, X Factors, what to expect, predictions, what else? New blood versus three-peat, the history of three-peats. Who is the last team to win 3 Stanley Cups in a row? We'll get into that, as well as the unbelievable feeling of being in 3 Stanley Cup Finals in a row versus to be the best, you have to beat the best. Avalanche, Lightning, Stanley Cup Final, starting tomorrow. All that and next. All that and more next on the Neutral Zone. Let's go. Welcome into the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Zach Puplis. Adam Karnick has the night off. Tonight, Stanley Cup Final predictions, previews, matchups, stars, X Factors. Whew. Could there be a three-peat? Could the Avalanche clinch their first cup in over 20 years? We shall see. New blood versus three-peat. The unbelievable feeling of being in 3 Stanley Cup Finals in a row versus to be the best, you got to beat the best. Let's get into it. But first, we've got some housekeeping as always. We want to thank our sponsors. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes. Whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on quests to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may just get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can find them on the socials, Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. You can follow the channel, the station, IE Sports Radio, on the socials as well, at IE Sports Radio on Twitter and Instagram, and on Facebook, IE Sports Radio. You can follow myself, Zach Puplis, at The Puplis, or you can follow the channel at, Neutral Zone IESR, or IESR Neutral Zone. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. First one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcast and university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. We do have 4 Patreon supporters Bay Area Raised, M. Los Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Our fan of the month is Justin Ekstrom. He is a Viking fan from Minnesota. You can reach him at the Sports Crib 21. And thank you all to everyone for making our 8th anniversary special. Here's to many more years to come. Okay, so Stanley Cup Final at last. We're down to the final 2 teams. We've got the Avalanche from the Western Conference, and we've got the Lightning from Eastern Conference. This is the 3rd berth in a row for the Lightning, with 2 cups in their belt, under their belt, and 2 cups under their belt, possibility of a 3rd one, and then you've got the Avalanche. I believe it's their first time in the Cup Final since 2001. Well, let's get into it. So, Stanley Cup Final bound Colorado Avalanche have to be seen to believed. Christian Shelton, ESPN, says after dominating 3 rounds of their postseason competition, the Colorado Avalanche are headed to the Stanley Cup Final. Avs superstars have delivered, as Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar are both making strong cases for the Conn Smythe, but they've gotten superb production from depth players as well, including a series-winning goal from Arturi Lekkonen in Game 4 against the Edmonton Oilers. With their second series sweep of the postseason, it's taken the Avalanche only 14 games to roll through 3 opponents. You got to win 16 games to win the Cup. And so far, let's see, a perfect round through 3 would have been 12 games. So it's only taken them 2 extra games to get to the Stanley Cup Final. And they just got 4 more to win. That's it. Well, what makes the Avs so exciting to watch and so difficult for the opposition to defeat? Let's explore. Yes, Colorado is that good. Well, let's start with the facts. In eliminating Edmonton, the Avalanche became just the 6th team in the last 20 seasons to sweep a conference final series. That places Colorado in elite company, but not necessarily on the fast track to win a Stanley Cup. Only 2 of those 5 teams, the 2009 Pittsburgh Penguins and the 2010 Chicago Blackhawks went on to hoist the cup. The 2003 Ducks and the 2019 Boston Bruins lost in Game 7 of their respective Cup finals. The 2013 Bruins lost in Game 6. Yes, the Avalanche have impressive star quality players. They just aren't the only reason Colorado is where it is. And that's what makes the Avalanche so dangerous. The many layers of excellence, making them so hard to describe or defend. Look at the physical effort put in by Andrew Burakovsky, already injured once in the series early in Game 4 to get the puck out of Colorado's end. There's such a clear desire in Colorado to reach its goal. As Nathan MacKinnon so eloquently put it after Colorado's 4-2 Game 3 win over the Oilers, the Avalanche are as happy to play, quote, boring and gross, quote, hockey that's defense heavy as they are pumping in 8 goals. So yeah, they can do it both ways. They can be exciting and offensive, have an offensive shootout type output, or they can grind it out with defense and win a close game. Either way, doesn't matter. Which brings us to our next point. The Avalanche can adapt to any situation. One of the most impressive things about Colorado is how they pivot. When one area of the team falters, another area comes through. Colorado's power play struggles early in the series against Edmonton. Avalanche owned the NHL's 7th best power play in the regular season, but through the first 3 games, Colorado was 2 for 14 on the power play, the lowest output by any team remaining in the postseason field. No matter, the Avalanche just dominated on 5-5 instead and made that the real advantage, pumping in 14 even-strength goals and averaging over 5 goals per game in the series. And their power play came alive in Game 4, scoring on both opportunities. It's just another example of how the Avalanche haven't let any roadblocks slow their progress. If a problem arises, Colorado has a solution. They don't get bogged down in overthinking or overplaying or getting away from the fundamental structure of what makes them a good team. It speaks to the trust Colorado coach Jared Bednar clearly has in his group and the confidence his players have in one another. And the Avalanche really don't show any sign of panic no matter what. No matter how well or poorly a game goes, cool heads consistently prevail. So leading into a long layoff, the Lightning had more than a week off between their second-round sweep of the Florida Panthers and the start of their Eastern Conference Finals against the New York Rangers. That was rust. Lightning lost Game 1 6-2. Then they lost Game 2 3-2. Rangers came in hot off a Game 7 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes and had all the momentum on their side. Will those early losses ultimately decide Tampa Bay's fate? In the end, no. More importantly for Colorado, are the Avs headed for similarly troubled waters? We always get into this in playoff time. It's rust versus rest. You know, what's going to be the determining factor when you win a series, when you sweep a team 4-0, 4-1, whatever, versus the team that has to go all 7 games. There could be several days of practice ahead for Colorado before it plays another competitive game. It's not an ideal scenario, but it's one in which the Avalanche already have experience this postseason. Colorado jettisoned Nashville in Game 4 on May 9th. It didn't open the second-round series against St. Louis for 8 days. And still took Game 1 3-2 in overtime. The Avalanche were likely feeling the effects of a layoff, but as referenced above, Colorado doesn't get bogged down by adversity. There also can be positives to the waiting game. Players have a chance to recover and recuperate physically. The longer Tampa and New York rage on, the closer Nazem Kadri, out with a broken thumb, gets to potentially appearing in the Cup Final. The Avalanche don't need hard practices or workouts at this stage. They've proved their mettle already. Besides, the biggest challenge will be mental and staying sharp ahead of what will be the most nerve-wracking, career-defining moment for a large swath of the Colorado roster. Again, to be the best, you got to beat the best. You know, Tampa Bay has all that playoff experience, all that. Well, I mean, Colorado does too, to a certain extent, but just getting up to that next echelon of the playoffs. Tampa Bay has not only playoff experience, but they also have Stanley Cup Final experience. That's what Colorado's lacking. Colorado has playoff experience, but they haven't been back to the Stanley Cup in, 20 years? Stanley Cup Final? Since, 2001, I think. Coaches and players will never admit to favoring one opponent or matchup over another. But we can do it for them. Colorado was 2-0 in the regular season against both Tampa Bay and New York. One of the wins against the Lightning came in a shootout. There's an argument to be made for avoiding the Lightning simply because of how resilient they've been in the playoffs. Overcoming a 2-0 deficit to start the Eastern Conference Finals would add to that narrative and the psychological mojo they possess in going for a three-peat. Well, too late. That's who they're playing. The Lightning are going to be a formidable opponent for Colorado. And there's a world-class goaltender waiting in the crease, Tampa Bay's Andrei Vasilevsky. As we've said, the Avalanche are proficient in every category. All things being equal, Colorado matches up well against either team. The Lightning. Because the Avalanche are adaptable and can pull from different facets of their game as required. Like they said earlier, they can grind it out and have a defensive-minded game, or they could win a shootout 6-5. Perhaps it comes down to avoiding Tampa Bay's mystique which is why Colorado could be secretly pulling for the Rangers. Too late now. Avs Rangers would have been a fantastic series, and bonus would provide us all with a new Cup champion after 2 years of the Lightning being on top. Nope, not so much. The longer Colorado has before the next round kicks off, the better it'll be for Kadri. He broke his thumb when Evander Kane boarded him in Game 3 against Edmonton, and Kadri will be motivated to participate in the first Cup final of his career. Colorado will be equally hopeful to have Kadri return. The forward has notched 6 goals and 14 points in the playoffs to date, and was really shining while playing alongside Mikko Rantanen and Arturi Lehkonen against the Oilers. Andrei Burakovsky has slid into his second-line role for the Avalanche while Kadri is unavailable and could be a fine replacement there going forward. But if Colorado faces a fully healthy Tampa Bay, or when they face a fully healthy Tampa Bay, Kadri's absence could be a bigger factor. It's not just that Kadri is capable, consistent contributor on the score sheet. He's also good in the face-off circle, has earned big minutes on the power play, and of course has a way of getting under anyone's skin. Look back to reference the game against St. Louis when he got in a little hot water for hitting Jordan Binnington, St. Louis's goalie, and then afterwards Binnington was caught on record as saying that he threw a bottle at Kadri afterwards. Regardless, intangibles often come to the forefront this time of year, and Kadri can be especially helpful for Colorado. Coach Jared Bednar hasn't been forthcoming about any player's health in the postseason, so it's unlikely he'll be providing updates on Kadri anytime soon. What we do know for sure is that Colorado is better with Kadri than without him. All right, so there's your Avalanche side of things. Okay, here's the Lightning side. What was that, Saturday? Saturday, they beat the Rangers to clinch their playoff spot, their spot in the Stanley Cup Final. Tampa Bay Lightning are 4 wins away from becoming the first NHL team since 1983 to win 3 straight Stanley Cup championships. Quote, "To get there the first time was a dream come true. To get there a second time the next year was a dream too. There was no way we were going back. To get there a third time is unbelievable," Lightning coach John Cooper said. Quote, "To watch the players' growth, watch the pain, I'm utterly impressed by what they do to win a hockey game. Nobody would fault them for saying, hey, we won 1 or 2. But to come back and go for a third, I'm damn impressed." But just like a video game, the final boss is their... I love it. I love this reference or parallel. Just like in a video game, the final boss is their toughest, most formidable opponent. This isn't even my final form. The Colorado Avalanche went 12-2 in winning the Western Conference crown, including a perfect 7-0 away from Denver. They're averaging 4.64 goals scored per game. They're star-studded, deeply talented, and as close to a juggernaut as these playoffs have produced. They've been, ever since Adam and I started the show back in September, like that was the Vegas favorite. Like, I think 25% chance to win the cup. Colorado? This is Steven Stamkos. Quote, "Colorado? Probably the best team in the league," end quote. Steven Stamkos, who scored both goals in their 2-1 Game 6 win to eliminate the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals on Saturday night. Quote, "As you progress through the playoffs, each round gets tougher and each opponent gets tougher," he said. "There's a reason why there's 2 teams left, and it's because they're the 2 best teams in the league. We're going to have our hands full," end quote. Stamkos also said the Avalanche were a team and the Lightning expected to have played already in the Stanley Cup Final. but Colorado failed to advance past the second round in 3 straight postseasons prior to this one. Quote, now they've broken through. They have just an unbelievable mix of veteran players, star power, grinders, and goalie. A huge challenge for us, Stamkos said. Quote, we know how we have to play. It's no secret that they have some electric players. End quote. The Lightning earned their 3rd straight trip to the Stanley Cup Final, which starts tomorrow night in Denver, with a comeback series win over the Toronto Maple Leafs, in which they trailed 3-2, a dominating sweep of the regular season conference champ Florida Panthers, and a 6-game series victory over the Rangers, winning 4 straight after falling behind 2-0. The story of these Eastern Conference Finals might be the story of the Stanley Cup Final if the Lightning three-peat. Team defense. The Rangers scored 1 goal in each of the last 3 games of the series. Tampa Bay goalie Andrei Vasilevsky won the goalie duel with New York's Igor Shesterkin, posting a .95 save percentage. 106 saves on 111 shots on goal. That's incredible. Over the last 4 games of the series. It's really a point of emphasis with our team. We have enough skill and enough talent to score offensively, but we focus on our defensive game. Quote, Lightning forward Alex Killorn said, quote, if we win 2-1, we're happy with that. We don't got to win by 6 goals. We want to defend first, end quote. So, if you compare the Lightning and the Avalanche, that part seems similar. They are willing to win both ways. It doesn't matter. Stamkos said the Lightning's success on both sides of the puck comes down to trusting one another after 2 previous championships. Again, they have all that, not just playoff experience, but they have that experience being in the Stanley Cup Final itself and having that pressure and that, nervous energy, if you will. Quote, I think it's just a belief in ourselves and a belief in the work you put in. But trust is the word, he said. We trust every guy that goes over those boards to do his job. Whether you score a goal or not, it's the little things that you do. It's the defending, it's the block shots, it's the sacrifice. It's not complaining about your role. It's going out and playing as hard as you can for the guy that sits beside you in that locker room. That's why this group is so special. We don't know what's going to happen here in the next 10 to 14 days. But we do know that we're going to give it our all. It's gotten us this far, again. It's just a special group and a treat to be a part of, end quote. The Lightning seem to be peaking at the right time defensively and are going to get a significant boost to their lineup in the Stanley Cup Final, too. Lightning coach John Cooper said injured star Braden Point, who hasn't played since Game 7 against the Maple Leafs, might not play in Game 1, but is extremely probable to appear in the series. Which, that's huge because he's such a consistent contributor. Adam and I always talk about Braden Point is worth at least a point a night. Like, his last name is his namesake, basically. Quote, as the conference finals progressed, we got better and better, end quote, Killorn said. Quote, I think tonight may have been our best game overall. I think that's important in a Stanley Cup run. It's typically the team that improves the most throughout the run that ends up winning, end quote. The Lightning have won it all twice in a row. Can they make it a three-peat? Once again, they go back to Stamkos. Quote, each guy is a part of the process. That's what makes this team so special and tight and unique. We don't care how it gets done. It just needs to get done. We're going to the finals again. We have a chance to do something really special. End quote. No kidding, do they? The chance to do something special, the chance to three-peat as Stanley Cup champs for the first time since 1983, since before I was born. I was -5. I've seen a couple, back-to-backers in my life, Pittsburgh Penguins, and now these Lightning, and 3 out of 5 years, 3 out of 5 or 6 years for the Blackhawks, 2 out of 3 for the Kings, back-to-backers by my Red Wings, when I was like 10 and wasn't even paying attention to hockey. But yeah, that's definitely special. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think I'm at peace either way. I just want it to be a good series because I feel like we're witnessing history if the Lightning win 3 in a row. But at the same time, I do like the Avalanche, and I think it would be fun to see some new blood win the cup and all their star players, and so yeah, I can go either way. All right, so here's what we've learned about the Lightning through 3 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tampa Bay Lightning have eliminated the New York Rangers and advanced to the Stanley Cup Final for the 3rd straight season, with the Avalanche rested and ready for the Game 1 tomorrow night, 8 p.m. ESPN. Here are 5 things we learned about the Lightning so far in their 2022 postseason journey and what they mean for the final showdown. The final countdown. The three-peat is in reach. The NHL hasn't had a team three-peat as Stanley Cup champion since 1983, when the New York Islanders finished off their dynasty. Since then, 6 other teams have won back-to-back cups. 5 of them failed to advance past the second round until the Lightning won the East this season. Quote, you don't get these chances often. They don't come around. It's like we've seen the top of the mountain. Let's keep going for more, Lightning coach John Cooper said. It's a classic matchup for the Stanley Cup. The Colorado Avalanche trying to finally break through to win their first cup since 2001 after a few years as a top contender. And the Lightning now just 4 wins away from an unprecedented achievement in the NHL salary cap era, which started in 2005. Quote, to get there for the first time was a dream come true. To get there a second time the next year was a dream too. There was no way we were going back. To go a third time is unbelievable, Cooper said. To watch their growth, to watch their pain, I'm utterly impressed by what they do to win a hockey game. Nobody would fault them for saying, hey, we won 1 or 2. But to go for a third, I'm damn impressed. End quote. To win a 3rd straight cup, the Lightning will have to defeat what Stamkos believes is the best team in the NHL. Colorado? Probably the best team in the league, Stamkos said. As you progress through the playoffs, each round gets tougher and tougher. Each opponent gets tougher. There's a reason why there's 2 teams left, and it's because they're the best 2 teams. We're going to have our hands full. Mostly old faces, same success. The Avalanche are facing a Lightning team whose core is essentially the same as the teams that won back-to-back cups. Excuse me. Tampa Bay is powered by stars. Center Steven Stamkos. Team captain with 481 career goals. Winger Nikita Kucherov, a former league MVP and the playoffs leading scorer. Center Braden Point, who missed nearly 2 rounds to injury, but has scored more playoff goals than any other player in the past 3 postseasons. Like I said, he's good for like a point every game. Just like his name says. Defenseman Victor Hedman, nominated for 6 straight seasons for the Norris Trophy as the NHL's top defenseman and playoff MVP in 2020. Defenseman Ryan McDonough, a steady veteran, and goalie Andrei Vasilevsky, the playoff MVP in 2021. They're supported by a returning cast of characters that include winger Andre Palat, who scored 2 overtime-preventing winning goals against the Rangers, rugged forwards Alex Killorn and Pat Maroon, who is attempting to play on his 4th straight cup winner. Wow. This would be 3, so who... Oh, he must have played for St. Louis, I think? That would make sense. Yeah. Ace defensive center Anthony Cirelli, who shut down the Rangers' top line, and the smooth skating defense of Mikhail Sergachev. One of the most impressive things about this run, that the Lightning lost their entire checking line and some key role players from the past 2 cup wins. Replaced them with veteran offseason pickups Corey Perry, Pierre-Edouard Bellarmé, and trade deadline acquisitions Brandon Hagel, Nick Paul, and haven't missed a beat. Quote, "We're still looking for a fit," GM Julien Brisebois said. "We're looking for guys that have pride and that have ambition. The pride is what's going to drive you to keep pushing forward when things aren't going well for you. The ambition is going to fuel your continued success. You're still hungry for more," end quote. Kucherov is elite. The Avalanche and the Lightning both have elite skaters who can take over games. Kucherov is chief among them. Kucherov had 23 points in 17 games, distributed rather equally between 5-on-5 and the power play. No NHL player scored more points than Kucherov over the past 3 postseasons. While his goal-scoring prowess is elite, it's his playmaking ability and puck distribution that enables him to rack up the points. Look no further than these conference finals. His perfect touch pass to Andre Palat set up the game winner in Game 3 and the entire arena thinking overtime. In Game 6, his pass to Stamkos as the captain streaked to the net set up the game-winning and series-clinching goal. He's a pace setter for the Lightning. When he's confident and rolling offensively, they take notice. Quote, "You can hear the chatter on the bench when he's coming off the ice. The guys knowing that your best player is, quote, on is a huge game," Stamkos said. If the Lightning win a 3rd straight Stanley Cup, it could be Kucherov's turn to hoist the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Can the Avs beat Vasilevsky? There's the question. Colorado caught some goaltending breaks this postseason. Nashville Predators didn't have injured starter Jose Saros. The Blues lost a resurgent Jordan Binnington to injury in Game 3. And Edmonton Oilers goalie Mike Smith was, well, Mike Smith. Savage. Opposing goaltenders have a combined save percentage of .88.6% against the Avalanche this postseason. But barring something unforeseen, the Avalanche will face their toughest net-minding competition in the Stanley Cup Final yet, and the player many consider to be the best goalie in the world. The postseason didn't start off great for Vasilevsky, as he gave up 22 goals in 7 games to the high-octane Toronto Maple Leafs. But he was great when it mattered most, stopping 30 of 31 shots in Game 7. Outside of a hiccup in Game 1 against the Rangers, after a 9-day layoff, Vasilevsky has been absolutely dominant. As Coach John Cooper said, he got his mojo back as the playoffs went on. In Vasilevsky, the Avalanche face one of the greatest postseason goalies in NHL history. It's not just how good he is, but it's when he's at his best. In 23 previous series-clinching games, Vasilevsky had a 1.65 goals against average and 6 shutouts. A 3rd straight Stanley Cup could solidify his legacy as one of the best ever. When we look back, when we're older, that's going to be something that stays there a long time. It's pretty cool to play with a player that's going to go down as one of the best that's ever played the game, Alex Killorn said. Quote, "That's how you judge players, how they play in big-time games. He's been nothing but tremendous in these games," end quote. And finally, the championship adaptability. During their run to the final, the Avalanche have been a team that can win an 8-6 game as comfortably as they can win a 4-0 shutout. In fact, they did both in the same series against the Edmonton Oilers. As Colorado star Nathan MacKinnon said, the Avalanche can play with offensive flourish at home and then play, quote, boring and gross hockey on the road to slow teams down. The Avalanche are cooking with a recipe the Lightning created in their past 2 championship seasons. Tampa Bay has had the offensive players to go goal for goal with the Avalanche, who lead the playoffs with 4.64 goals per game. But the Lightning also have the ability to win 1-0, with veteran players embodying the patient poise necessary to do so. I think it's just a belief in ourselves and a belief in the work you put in. But trust is the word. We trust every guy that goes over those boards. We've already read this. There's no telling how a series will play out before it's played, but it wouldn't be surprising to see the Stanley Cup Final become a battle between the Colorado offense and the variety of ways the Lightning will attempt to defend it. They have Vasilevsky as the backbone. They have Hedman and McDonough playing close to 47 minutes per game between them. They also have a newly formed checking line with Hagel, Cirelli, and Killorn, who dominated the Rangers at 5-on-5, and a collection of forwards who pride themselves on defending by any means necessary. Quote, does it get contagious? It does. God forbid you watch a guy block a shot and then have a chance to do it. You come to the bench and it's not a fun place to be if you're not willing to do that. So guys, get in line in that regard, end quote. Cooper said, quote, that's been the history with us for a number of years. It's kind of built into our culture now, end quote. A championship culture and one that should make for an outstanding Stanley Cup final against the Avalanche. Stamkos said the Avalanche were a team the Lightning expected to have played already for the Stanley Cup. However, Colorado failed to advance past the second round in 3 straight seasons. Now that they've broken through, they just have unbelievable mix of veteran players, star power, grinders, goalie, huge challenge for us, Stamkos said. We know how we have to play. It's no secret that they have some electric players. As do the Lightning. They can run and gun, but most likely it'll be their defense that could make the difference between becoming the 6th team since 1983 to fall short of a three-peat or the first official Cap-era dynasty. Quote, we don't care how it gets done. It just needs to get done, Stamkos said. We're going to the finals again. We have a chance to do something really special. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back. You're listening to The Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back on the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Zach Puplis. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're talking about the Stanley Cup Final, the Avalanche and Lightning. It starts tomorrow at 8 p.m. on ESPN. So we've talked about the Lightning a lot. Well, let's talk more about the Avalanche. So Colorado Avalanche brace for Tampa Bay Lightning, knowing, quote, the toughest round is still ahead of us. Kristen Shilton, ESPN. Colorado Avalanche have long aspired to become the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now it's the Lightning standing between the Avalanche and their first Stanley Cup win since 2001. Again, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So here it goes. The two-time defending champ Lightning topped the New York Rangers in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals on Saturday to reach their third consecutive Cup final, which opens here on Wednesday in Denver. Tampa Bay's excellence is what these Avalanche have been chasing. Oftentimes in sports, like if you're trying to build a program, you look to a certain team to aspire to be, to use as your benchmark. Okay, well, we need to be like XYZ team, hard-nosed, well-disciplined, they're not going to have a lot of penalties, good offense, good defense, well-balanced, etc. Tampa Bay's excellence is what these Avalanche have been chasing, and now it's within reach, if only they can dethrone the NHL's heavyweights. Quote, the way I look at it is, to be the... I swear I haven't read this article yet. Quote, the way I look at it is, to be the best, you gotta beat the best. Habs coach Jared Bednar said Sunday. That team... that's them. They're the team that everyone's trying to model after. They're in the final for the third year in a row. They've just won twice in a row. That's what every team's trying to do. Not just get there, but stay there and be relevant every season in the conversations with the best teams in the league and go on to prove that they are one. End quote. Colorado has already put in the groundwork there. The Avalanche are 12-2 thus far in the Stanley Cup playoffs, sweeping through both their first-round series against Nashville and their Western Conference Finals against Edmonton. Colorado has been idle since securing the Clarence Campbell Bowl on June 6th, waiting to see whether the Lightning or the Rangers would be their final matchup. It was poetic in a way to see Tampa Bay come through again. Colorado can measure itself directly against the club that has dominated the sport the past couple of years, in the hopes they'll be Tampa Bay's successor in that role. Quote, they're a really good team, but we're confident in ourselves as well, end quote. Colorado defenseman Bowen Byram said, quote, we have a really good team. It's not easy to get to the Cup final. We're excited for it. They have a really good team, and we're going to have to play our best to beat them. But we're excited for that challenge, end quote. Bednar admitted Colorado hasn't faced a team quite like Tampa Bay in the postseason. Lightning have gotten excellent goaltending from Andrei Vasilevsky and are aggressive in boxing teams out around the net. Bednar said his focus on preparing for Tampa Bay began when they took a 3-2 series lead over New York, but a key for Colorado is to not be intimidated by what's ahead. Quote, we have to play to our identity. We have specific keys that we look at and things that we try to accomplish in the offensive zone. It has to start with our skating. There's a real deep team, highly committed team on the defensive side of things. Dangerous offensively. Great goaltending. They're back where they are for a reason, right? This is a very difficult team to win against. We'll have to be ready for that challenge, end quote. A key advantage Tampa Bay has is his playoff experience. Like I said earlier, not just playoff experience, but actual Stanley Cup final experience even. I mean, they won it twice in a row now, 2 years in a row. And knowing how to win when it counts. Colorado captain Gabriel Landeskog said that's, quote, invaluable to the Lightning this time of year and factors into what makes them such a deep, formidable opponent. Where Colorado will try to excel is using its recent rest as a weapon. When Tampa had 9 days off between the end of its second round sweep of Florida and a puck drop against New York, there was a visible rust that contributed to their 2-0 series deficit. Colorado didn't have the same issue between its first round and second round matchups, and the Avalanche don't think their current 8-day break will be an issue either. We're not using anything as an excuse, Landeskog said. Quote, we're going to make sure we practice hard and we rest up and we're ready to go. That's just the group we have. We are ready for what we need to do. I think rest is a good thing in the long run, end quote. What matters most to Colorado is the opportunity still at hand, competing for and winning that long coveted cup. It's been 21 years. Their Stanley Cup drought is old enough to drink. Let's just put it that way. Quote, it's exciting to be playing and knowing that you're one of the final two teams, Landeskog said. But the toughest round is still ahead of us, and that's an exciting challenge, and it's going to be fun seeing what we can do as a group. I think we've played some really solid hockey over the last 6 weeks or so, and we want to keep that going, end quote. All right, So, here's your mega preview. X Factors, key stats, goalie confidence ratings, predictions. ESPN, Kirsten Shelton and Greg Wyshynski. 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs are down to the final two teams. Western Conference champion Colorado Avalanche will host the Eastern Conference champion Tampa Bay Lightning for Game 1, the Stanley Cup Final, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. ESPN. Tampa Bay can become the first three-peat Cup champion since the New York Islanders won their third of four straight in 1982. Colorado is hoping to earn its third Cup in franchise history and its first since 2001. Whether you've been following these teams your whole life or just tuning in for the final, we've got you covered with key players, goalie confidence ratings, X Factors, and more for both the Avs and the Lightning, plus our picks on who will win hockey's ultimate prize. Avalanche, how they got here. Defeated Nashville Predators 4 games to nothing. Defeated St. Louis Blues 4 games to 2. And defeated the Edmonton Oilers 4 games to nothing. Goalie confidence rating, 8. Colorado either has the best or worst goalie conundrum for this time of year. Instead of just one capable starter, the Avalanche have two, Darcy Kemper and Pavel Francouz. There's an argument to be made for each of them starting in Game 1 of the Cup Finals. The question is, who will Coach Jared Bednar select? Francouz had the hot hand as of late and probably the inside track on the all-important confidence-boosting "you're the guy" vote from Bednar. Kemper suffered an upper body injury in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against Edmonton, and Francouz took over to backstop Colorado in his sweep. Kemper returned to back up in Game 4 of that series and confirmed last week that he is 100% healthy, quote. Earlier this postseason, Kemper left the series against Nashville because of an accidental stick to the eye from Matt Duchene, and Francouz subsequently closed out the Preds. Bednar, of course, isn't tipping his hand on whether Francouz will retain the starter's crease. There isn't much separating Kemper and Francouz in the playoffs. Kemper is 6-2 and nothing and 0 record with a .897 save percentage and a 2.65 goals against average. Francouz is 6-0-0 with a save percentage of 90.6 and a 2.86 goals against. Bottom line is that Francouz hasn't recorded a postseason loss, while Kemper and his more recent playing experience given Kemper's injury. Colorado may not have played a game since June 6th, but Kemper hasn't appeared in one since May 31st. That's a long stretch of downtime for any goalie. How much is Kemper owed for a great regular season? It can't be more than what Francouz is due for the strong playoffs. And that's why Colorado is in good shape here. There's no wrong decision to make. Its goaltending should be an asset no matter what. What we've learned about this team so far in the postseason? Well, we knew Colorado was good. What we learned is just how good. They aren't just a fast, talented, deep team. They're opportunistic, critically resilient, and seemingly unaware of any limitations on their ability. Even on nights when the ending seems written, like when they were down 2 goals in the third period versus Edmonton in Game 4, they just continue to execute. There's no quit, to borrow the Rangers playoff slogan, in the Avalanche. Until the final buzzer sounds, they'll give it all they got. We've also seen how Colorado is more than the sum of its stars. Of course, Cale Makar, 22 points in 14 games, Nathan MacKinnon, 18 points, and Gabriel Landeskog, 17 points, have been the key factors in the Avalanche's success. But it's Arturi Lehkonen who leads the team in game-winning goals, and JT Compher scoring when Colorado needs a boost. The veteran Eric Johnson is shepherding young Bowen Byram through what has developed into an excellent postseason for both. Colorado also has lost an important player in Nazem Kadri and failed to miss a beat, at least so far. The next man up mentality is baked into the Avs philosophy. Calling Colorado deep almost doesn't do a team justice. Throughout the playoffs, the Avalanche have appeared to become stronger, to trust themselves more, and to embrace whatever comes their way. Colorado has performed as seamlessly in 1-goal outings as it has in 8 and 6 barn burners. That's a testament to Bednar's coaching and the Avalanche's leadership group. Seeing all those elements on display in the playoffs is what has defined a great run so far for Colorado. A player that will be key to the series, all eyes will be on Cale Makar. After all, the defenseman can hardly be ignored. He is Colorado's most effective all-around player. He plays over 27 minutes a game, from 5-on-5 to the power play to the penalty kill. Keeping him on the ice as much as possible is how Colorado will best keep the puck away from Tampa Bay. It's not just about the offensive players Tampa Bay wields. It's also the Lightning boasts one of the NHL's best and craftiest veteran defensemen in Victor Hedman. Not since Ray Bourque or Scott Stevens went head-to-head in the 01 Cup Finals have two Norris Trophy finalists faced each other at this pinnacle. So for all the previous talk in Colorado's last series about a McKinnon-Connor McDavid matchup, the key to this final could be how Makar keeps pace with what Hedman is bringing the other way. How do they solve Andrei Vasilevsky? This is the series-defining question. How do you beat the best goalie in the world? And how do you do it 4 times? It starts with making Vasilevsky uncomfortable. He's going to stop any pucks he can see. Colorado needs to make sure he doesn't see all of them. That requires creating traffic in front of the net, cycling the puck, and wearing down Tampa Bay's defense, carving out some shooting lanes in dangerous areas, and firing early and often to set a tone for the attack. Easy, right? Well, no. Lightning are a great defensive team, too. They do a great job boxing out in front of Vasilevsky and preventing those high-danger chances Colorado has so often generated against other teams. To combat that, Colorado has to capitalize on what openings it does find. The Avalanche are guilty at times of too many touches, too much waiting around for the perfect shot. That won't fly against Vasilevsky or Tampa Bay's back end. Colorado has to make fast decisions, enter the zone with speed, and not allow Vasilevsky time to get settled. Colorado has enough tools to disrupt even the most elite goaltender's flow. All it has to do now is prove it over and over again. All right, Tampa Bay, how they got here. Defeated the Maple Leafs 4-3, defeated the Panthers 4-0, and defeated New York Rangers 4-2. Goalie confidence rating 10. No matter what happens in the Cup final, Andrei Vasilevsky has cemented his status as one of the greatest postseason goalies in NHL history. After an uncharacteristically rough first round against the Maple Leafs, Vasilevsky has a .939 save percentage and a 1.81 goals against average on 5-on-5 in the 10 games since. He had a 9.955 save percentage over the last 4 games of the series against the Rangers. His clutch play is now legendary. Vasilevsky has 13 career series clinching wins and has stopped 219 of 221 shots in his past 8 series clinching wins. He's the reason the Lightning have a chance at a Stanley Cup three-peat against the best offensive team in the playoffs. What have we learned so far about this team in the postseason? The Lightning are still the Lightning. They are still a team with stars like Steven Stamkos, 15 points, Nikita Kucherov, 23 points, and Victor Hedman, 14 points, who have made their mark on the playoff run. They still have heroic role players like Andre Palat, whose 2 winning goals against the Rangers tipped the series. They still have Vasilevsky, and they still have the team that can beat you 5-4 or 1-0, and look just as comfortable doing either under the guidance of Coach John Cooper. But what we also learned about the Lightning is that they know how to find reinforcements. Tampa Bay lost its entire checking line after last season. It created a new one with holdovers Anthony Cirelli, Alex Killorn, and trade deadline pickup Brandon Hagel. Forward Nick Paul, another deadline pickup, has been a solid scorer and dynamic penalty killer. Veterans Corey Perry and Pierre-Edouard Bellarmé, who signed contracts last summer, create some chaos too. Since 1983, no team that has won back-to-back Stanley Cups advanced past the second round in its three-peat attempt. There's a reason this one has. Player who will be key to the series. Let's see. That doesn't quite make sense. All right, Cup champion predictions. Kristen Shilton, Avalanche in 7. This is by far the toughest series to predict to date. For the record, it's hard to bet against the champs, but somehow it also feels like this year's Colorado's year. Greg Wyshynski, Avalanche in 6. As much as I want to see the three-peat, I'll take the Avs' depth, speed, and rest against the Lightning, but it's going to be one of the more competitive Stanley Cup finals in recent memory. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to say Avs in 7 as well. And we'll have to get Adam's take on it next week. All right, so we're almost out of here. One quick hit before we go. 10 most pivotal players in the Colorado Avalanche Tampa Bay Lightning series for the Stanley Cup Final. Kristen Shilton, ESPN. All right, just quick hits. Anthony Cirelli, Lightning. JT Compher, Avalanche. Eric Johnson, Avalanche. Arturi Lehkonen, Avalanche. Nathan McKinnon, Avalanche. Cale Makar, Avalanche. Ryan McDonough, Lightning. Andre Palat, Lightning. Mikhail Sergachev, Lightning. Steven Stamkos, Lightning. And there's your... we can get into this more next week, but there is your... what do they call it? Their top 10 most pivotal players in the Stanley Cup Final. All right, time to get out of here. We want to thank the Southern California Warriors. We want to thank Larry and Taryn. We want to thank all of our... excuse me. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous, plus our fan of the month, Justin Ekstrom, Viking fan from Minnesota. You can reach him at SportsCrib21. All right, everybody, it's been a fun hour. We're going to get out of here, and we'll see you all next week. As Adam always says, stay good, stay out of the boards, stay out of the penalty box, hit them straight. And have a good night.